Welcome, everyone. Today I look at Sovereign Soul Unchained Minds debate with Red's Rhetoric that Sovereign recently replayed on his channel. Sean Hawkins did a review of this debate on his channel recently, and just watching a portion of Sovereign and Red's gave me the idea of a highlights video, kind of like what I do with FTFE's debates when I edit them down for his debate shorts. I have linked both videos in the description below. Sovereign Soul Unchained Mind is a flat earth believer, has many sovereign citizen-like traits though rejects the sovereign citizen label, and has other beliefs and opinions as well. Okay, let's get into it.
Good evening and welcome to Sovereign Soul Unchained Mind. I know this is kind of like an unscheduled situation. We're going to have a guest here from Twitter. It's interesting that if you put out anything about certain subjects, God, flat earth, evolution, it's like it's almost the same Agent Smiths come out from everywhere to, oh no, that can't be true. And they really, a lot of times engage in the ad hominem. And I guess my guest is against that as well, using the ad hominem, because that was one of the conditions of talking about this. The way it was described to me was that I would be destroyed in a debate, and I'm really not understanding what is meant by that. It was my understanding that a debate is a rational discussion of opposing opinions and ideas, and that the listener is the one, those that are viewing the debate are the ones that come about with their own consensus based on what they've been presented with. I do see, however, many times these things devolve into arguments, whereas tempers start to flare. We're going to keep this very calm. We're not going to engage in ad hominems. We are only going to engage in things that we can 100% prove. And by proof, that means it has to pass the gold standard of science. As soon as an assumption is brought in, there is no more gold standard involved. Now we're dealing with fantasy stuff. So that would sort of like be jumping in to describe what the flowers look like in Narnia before we have even determined that Narnia exists, if you can get that. So my guest is Red from Red's Rhetoric on Twitter. I said, let's get this, let's do this. I would love to do it because I think the more informed people can be on both sides of the argument, the better off we are. I do find, and it doesn't seem that way in Red's case, but I do find that in a lot of cases, a lot of people that want to argue and get angry about it don't really know much about what they supposedly believe in the first place. They just do because it's the thing. It's what everybody does. It's what we were told, that kind of thing. And you know what we do here? We question. We question everything.
It's all bullshit, folks. It's all bullshit, and it's bad for you. Children should be taught to question everything, to question everything they read, everything they hear. Children should be taught to question authority. Parents never teach their children to question authority because parents are authority figures themselves, and they don't want to undermine their own bullshit inside the household. So they stroke the kid, and the kid strokes them, and they all stroke each other, and they all grow up all fucked up, and they come to shows like this.
So I'd like to welcome Red. Red, how are you doing this evening?
Doing fine.
Where are you coming to us from, Red, if you don't mind me asking? I'm in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia.
Tampa, Florida.
Tampa, Florida. I've been there. It's beautiful, beautiful down here. And it looks like your state's getting more and more free while the rest of us are getting more and more enslaved. Look,
sure.
I mean, it's that's anyway, that's the rhetoric that I get in the local media. So I'd like to start this out that the claim, I would say that extraordinary claims require absolute proofs. And one of the extraordinary claims is that the Earth is a globe. Now, we first have to start there because this is what it all hinges on. So why do we determine that the Earth is a globe?
Because of the impossibility to the contrary?
But I'm saying in order for it to be a globe, why would it be impossible for it to be anything else?
Do you know what an equatorial telescope mount is?
Yeah.
All right. The fact that the equatorial telescope mount works shows the geometric impossibility of a flat Earth.
Not
in order
really.
for the flat Earth to be true, An equatorial telescope mount would have to operate by moving more than one axis at a time. However, in reality, we only need to move we only need to move one axis of rotation in order to track any celestial object. Now, if you were to model this out as I did on my YouTube channel, and I have a video here ready to rock and roll if you would allow, you would see a clear example that in order for the flat Earth to be true, then the operation of an equatorial telescope mount would have to fundamentally change. The fact that it doesn't operate like that in reality shows that reality disagrees with the notion that the Earth is flat. That's just the first piece of evidence that I have. I will go ahead and
Can I address that evidence? Can I address that before we just go any further? Would that be affected if there was a lens between the telescope and what you're looking at?
What lens?
For instance, what if there were the containment that holds our atmosphere in?
There's a containment that holds our atmosphere in?
There would absolutely have to be. You cannot have a gas pressure system within a vacuum or a lower pressure system without containment.
Gravity! Well, here's the thing. I believe by containment, you mean the idea of a physical dome.
Yeah, there is no dome. There would have to be some physical barrier. There is no way.
There is no physical barrier. And the reason why we know this is because when rockets launch, we don't see them colliding into any physical object.
No, we see them curve off into the horizon, and then we see them come on TV and tell us that they're out in space.
No, we actually have evidence to show that they're in space. This is a flat Earth model, much like I see plastered on the back wall of your room in some of your previous videos. Here we see it tracking a celestial object. You'll notice the two axes of rotation. Here's the first axis of rotation within this model. As you can see, it is moving. Here is the second axis of rotation on this model. As you can see, it is moving. By the movement of two of these axes, we see that the flat Earth model fails to comport with reality. Now, if I were to fast forward to the globe model, so we are tracking, again, another celestial object using the same exact equatorial mount. And as you can see, it is able to track it on the globe model. Here's the first axis of rotation. As you can see, it is staying still as it does in reality. And if we look at the second axis of rotation, we can see that it moves as it does in reality. And the reason why we know this for a fact, and the reason why this passes the test, is because I start the video off by showing an equatorial telescope mount tracking celestial objects as they do in reality while only rotating one axis. Therefore, the flat Earth model, in order for that to be the case, it would have to fundamentally change the operation of this mount, but geometrically speaking, it doesn't work with the flat Earth.
You're following objects in the sky and determining that the Earth is moving?
I didn't say anything about the Earth moving.
Well, I mean that's what I'm saying. Right. Yeah, absolutely. So how are the stars, if they're going by? Okay, they're going by. The Earth is actually rotating, so that's why the stars appear like they're going away and moving in the sky. Is that what
I'm not talking about the movement of the Earth, sir. I'm talking about the shape.
I kind of am going with that because of the fact that you were using these celestial objects in order to prove the sphericity of the Earth in conjunction with the movement of a telescope.
Remember the original model that I showed. The original model that I showed, the one that flat earthers would agree with, is the way the celestial bodies move. The flat Earth was not moving in that model. The celestial object was.
Put it back to that point. Put it back to that point where you're saying what flat earthers believe star movement is, because that could very well be an assumption. You don't know that that's how everybody thinks that it is. That's how you think that we think it is.
No, it's not. It's not whether or not I think it
seems
is
like the
not.
difference. It seems like the difference in what we're saying. I'm saying that we're looking through a curved lens. You're saying we're looking at it on a curved platform.
No. You misunderstand my point. My point is that it doesn't matter if the sphere is rotating or being rotated around by something else. It doesn't matter if we're talking about heliocentric versus geocentric. The geometric consequences of the equatorial telescope out working as it does in reality is the exact same. That consequence being that the flat Earth model does not comport with reality.
Now, who can argue with that?
Just for food for thought as we talk. As you can see, we are basically talking about that same thing, but why don't we go ahead and if that's it, that you can, because you have to move a telescope a certain degree as the stars move in the sky in order to track them is proof of a globe.
No, I didn't say it had to move by a certain degree, sir. I said it has a number of axes of rotation. The flat Earth model requires the movement of 2, while reality only requires the movement of 1. When you compare these two facts against each other, then you ask yourself, what model best comports with what I'm observing with the equatorial telescope mount? We find that the round Earth model best comports with what I'm observing with the equatorial telescope mount. What I'm saying is that we don't have to take anyone else's word for it. What we can actually do is using modern equipment, which modern telescopes actually have the capability of making these measurements. If you were to travel, there's a road in Florida that if you were to travel up by a certain amount, you would actually see the stars in the sky relative to the North Celestial Pole, I'll say, shift by a half a degree, I think. That half a degree is actually detectable with modern day telescopes. That modern day telescope equipment that anyone can purchase will actually allow you to measure the circumference of the Earth.
Well, is it measuring the circumference of the Earth, or there again, the curvature of the dome itself?
Yeah, but there is no dome.
Well, wait a second. We haven't determined that. We haven't determined that yet. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Believe me. What I'm getting at is you have no way to prove these distances, of vast distances of these stars. This is what it all hinges on. This is what it all hinges on. I didn't make
any claim.
No, I know you're not. I know, but this whole thing would depend on that as well. You just claim that there's no containment, whereas physics and science dictates that there must be containment.
Gravity!
There must be
containment. The pressure cannot be. You've got 14.7 psi at sea level, and the dead of space, or even just close to the moon. Okay, the moon, they said, is 10 to the negative 11 torr. For those of you that want to know what that is in psi, it's a negative 2 billion psi. So basically a full fucking vacuum.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away?
There's no such thing as negative psi, but okay.
That's what the scientists tell us, is that it's 10 to the negative 11 torr is the pressure, or negative.
Just a quick question. Do you think a negative exponent makes it a negative number?
Dude, I'm using your guys' numbers. That ain't my number. I don't think that exists at all. I don't think it exists at all. I'm using the number that your NASA scientists and your astrophysicists use. This
But
is
if you
the
don't
number that they
understand
use.
what they're talking about, then how can you properly decipher what they're telling you? So
It's
again,
the absence of positive pressure. The bottom line is this. The bottom line is this, Red. You cannot have a negative pressure system next to a positive pressure system without containment, or equalization will take place. Nature abhors a vacuum.
In physics, horror vacui, or plenism, commonly stated as nature abhors a vacuum, is a postulate attributed to Aristotle, who articulated a belief, later criticized by the atomism of Epicurus and Lucretius, that nature contains no vacuums because the denser surrounding material continuum would immediately fill the rarity of an incipient void. He also argued against the void in a more abstract sense, as separable, for example, that by definition a void, equivocally, itself, is nothing, and following Plato, nothing cannot rightly be said to exist. Furthermore, insofar as it would be featureless, it could neither be encountered by the senses, nor could its supposition lend additional explanatory power. The idea was restated as natura abhorret vacuum by François Rabelais in his series of books titled Gargantua and Pantagruel in the 1530s. The theory was supported and restated by Galileo Galilei in the early 17th century as resistenza del vacuo. Galileo was surprised by the fact that water could not rise above a certain level in an aspiration tube in his suction pump, leading him to conclude that there is a limit to the phenomenon. René Descartes proposed a plenic interpretation of atomism to eliminate the void, which he considered incompatible with his concept of space. The theory was rejected by later scientists, such as Galileo's pupil Evangelista Torricelli, who repeated his experiment with mercury. Blaise Pascal successfully repeated Galileo's and Torricelli's experiment and foresaw no reason why a perfect vacuum could not be achieved in principle. Scottish philosopher Thomas Carlyle mentioned Pascal's experiment in the Edinburgh Encyclopedia in an 1823 article titled, Pascal. James Clerk Maxwell subscribed to this philosophy when he argued forcefully for the existence of the luminiferous ether in his 1861 electromagnetic theory of light.
I go back to my original question. Do you believe that a negative exponent on a number makes that number negative?
I'm just telling you what the fucking number that your people give us. What is it then? What is the number? What is the pressure of space? What is the pressure? Hold on, Red. What is the pressure of space?
It makes it a decimal point, not a negative number.
Okay.
So for you to say that NASA is claiming that they're asserting negative PSI means you fundamentally do not understand what NASA's been telling you. So this entire time, you've been arguing
10 to the negative 11. Okay, well, you tell me what the pressure of space is then, Red. What is the pressure of space? Is it less or more than it is on Earth?
Oh, it's much less.
Much less. So you want to tell me how that keeps from equalization? That's a vast area of no pressure against a small amount of pressure.
Do you believe
how in the world does that not equalize if there's no containment?
Gravity!
But we do have things that fly at high altitude. Absolutely. We also have high altitude balloons, some of which are as big as the Astrodome that are up there right now that you don't see at all. God knows even what's hanging from those.
Published on space.com on September 12, 2018, NASA's gigantic, ultra-thin balloon, known as the Big 60, broke a record for highest balloon altitude maintained during flight when it took to the skies last month. The space agency released the football stadium size, 60 million cubic foot, 1.7 million cubic meters, scientific balloon from Fort Sumner, New Mexico, on August 17 and August 25, according to a NASA statement published August 31. NASA officials said the Big 60 set a new sustainable altitude record by reaching 159,000 feet, 48,500 meters, during an 8-hour flight on August 17, traveling into Earth's stratosphere and ascending about 5 miles, 8 kilometers, higher than the next largest balloon prototype.
Can you share my screen?
We know that NASA is the largest consumer of helium in the world, and they do put out record number of balloons, a lot of them from Antarctica. What do you got for us right here? Let's see what this is. Oh yeah, the SR-71. That thing is and that's been around for a few decades. I mean, I would guarantee that
Now-
they've got shit that's way better than that by now.
Possibly,
You know?
but let me just ask you this.
What was it? Wait, real quick. What was that? Like 1968? Something like that?
Something like that. But the question that I have for you is this: what looks more aerodynamic? Would it be this SR-71 Blackbird, or would it be this actual image captured by Astronomy Live?
Yeah, I'm not doubting that. I've seen that picture before. I don't know what it is, but I do know
this picture. Hang on, let me just explain something. This picture is of the same International Space Station captured with the same exact equipment, or mostly the same equipment, different scope, the same camera that was attached to it. This was captured by the same person that helped me make that measurement that I showed previously. This shows that this unaerodynamic craft, which we confirmed is traveling at 7 kilometers per second, looks like, well, the most unaerodynamic craft in existence, as opposed to the XR-71, which cannot go anywhere close as fast nor as high, which means in order for this craft to survive with it being the shape that it is, traveling the speed that it's going, it would have to be in an environment where atmospheric drag is not a concern. Where would that be? Kind of sounds like space to me.
It does kind of sound like that. It does kind of sound like that.
It does, doesn't it?
If indeed the object that we see, if indeed the object that we are seeing is actually what we're told.
Well, keep in mind,
I agree with that. We also hold up. We also know that there are streams of wind at high altitudes that go phenomenally fast.
They travel at 8 kilometers a second.
I don't know. Maybe some of them are pretty fucking fast. Where's that? Oh, they took that down. They took that down. There used to be a thing that you could actually track the winds.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. The winds are not what's being tracked with this. The way that we were able to find the transit of the International Space Station is that we were able to predict where it was going to be 2 weeks prior, which means that goes well beyond what meteorologists are able to predict. Let's
assume. I'm going to go ahead and assume that this thing is out there flying around in space. You still haven't addressed how the fuck we could possibly have an atmosphere against space without containment unless space is not what we're told.
Gravity! Have you ever heard of fucking gravity?
Again, I already gave you the answer, but
well, no, you said gravity, which I just showed. I can show you that gravity is bullshit. You ever seen a hot air balloon? You ever seen a hot air balloon? A submarine?
Right, stop that. Silly.
Again, whether you accept it or not is beside the point. What I'm saying is
no, it's not. That's the whole thing. That's the extraordinary claims that must be proven. Before we go to finding out how the flowers are growing in Narnia, we have to determine that Narnia even fucking exists.
Much like the dome.
Well, there again. So if there's no dome, and I'm not saying concretely that there is, I'm saying there has to be containment. And you can't just yell gravity when nobody even knows what the fuck it is. The worst part of it is within astrophysics. The worst part of it is that they are saying that the cause is the effect. The effect is the cause. It's not. And so they ascribe this principle to other objects that they observe, thinking that and it's an assumption. It's all an assumption. So what we have to prove is not only sphericity of the globe, which would be as simple as measuring curvature. We don't have to do all this. We can just measure curvature. Okay? That's first and foremost. And we also have to demonstrate. We have to demonstrate this thing of gravity. We have to say, okay, how would it be possible for this to exist where it's holding water onto a ball that's rotating at, what is it, 1 degree an hour? Or
no, it's
15 degrees an hour.
There you go.
15 degrees an hour. So it's doing all that while simultaneously going at a phenomenal speed around the sun while traveling in a perpendicular direction, chasing the sun as it flies away from the Milky Way, and the other phenomenal speeds, but we don't feel it because of math. We have to demonstrate that that's absolutely possible at all, and we can't without assumptions and speculations, one of which the magic word gravity.
Again,
yes, we all determine we can measure the rate at which things fall. Yes, we can. Do they go in a downward direction? Yes, they do.
And what makes that downward direction not applicable to the atmosphere?
Well, just a second. It does. It absolutely does.
So a dome is not needed.
Wait, yes. Hold on. Wait, hold on. Don't cut it off. You only got half the equation, because now we have to put that next to the lack of any pressure system whatsoever without containment and prevent equalization.
You mean
I'm saying that there is not a force. The force isn't strong enough to do that, because let's think about that. Let's think about that pressure differential, and then just think about the fact that I can trap this air that's being held by gravity inside of a contained vessel, heat it up a slight few degrees even, and it starts to lift away from this gravity that's supposedly holding it against an immense pressure differential.
I have no idea why you're so hinged on this gravity thing again.
Well, I'll tell you why, because without it, the rest of all this shit falls out of the way.
Geometry.
You see, because 90% of the speculations that are used in all of this are hinging on gravity. For instance, the impossible idea of everything sticking to a ball and being drawn to its center without any evidence whatsoever, it's actually quite ludicrous if you think of it on face value. If they waited until you were about 15 years old and tried to run that shit on you for the first time, you'd think they were crazy. But since you've been indoctrinated into it since you were 5 years old or before,
it's called indoctrination.
It is indoctrination, because it requires belief,
not
and acceptance of impossibilities.
Have you ever heard the phrase, "That sounds like the pot calling the kettle black"?
The acceptance that water, which remains level when undisturbed, can somehow wrap itself around a moving object and adhere to its shape is a ridiculous concept. That is a ridiculous claim that must be proven.
I see. Okay.
And the only way that can be proven, and through the gold standard, is to demonstrate this through a repeatable and demonstratable experimentation. This also has to be proven, because the extraordinary claim is a gas pressure system within the lack of a pressure system, or a lesser pressure system without containment. This is not possible. So an experiment, a repeatable, demonstrable experiment must exist that can show this to be possibility.
There are over
50
you can
write down numbers. You can write down numbers and make equations based off of your assumptions, and that's all it is. It's equations worked backwards from an assumption.
I didn't show numbers, dude.
I know you didn't. I'm just saying within general.
Yourself. I didn't have to go to NASA or SpaceX or ESA or any of the kindergarten teachers that I had when I was growing up. I didn't have to do any of that shit. The only thing I had.
Where did you first get the idea that the world was a globe? Where did that idea? Did you come upon that on your own, or was that told to you?
Do you think that the origin of an idea as opposed to its validation are
just
two
answer the
similar
question?
things?
Were you told that, or did you come to it on your own?
I was told that, and I verified it myself.
You verified it yourself.
Correct.
So and you had to jump through a lot of hoops to verify it, to prove to yourself that what you sense.
Doing the work?
No,
yeah.
What I'm saying is trying to prove to yourself that your senses, everything that you think, everything that you feel, that you observe, and everything that you know deep inside is completely fucking wrong because of math.
Confession by projection.
Completely fucking wrong because no, I'm not saying anything is wrong. I'm saying that I understand geometric consequences. They are geometric consequences to living on a spherical Earth.
Well, wait a second. Let's prove that it's a sphere. How are we going to do that?
I already told you about the equatorial telescope mount and the
No, that doesn't prove anything. That proves that you see different star rotations. It proves that you have to. No, it doesn't. It proves that you see objects in the sky, you track them with a telescope, and this is where it tells you to move the telescope to. That doesn't prove sphericity. That proves that there are lights in the sky moving, and you're tracking them with a fucking telescope. That's all it proves. It doesn't prove sphericity.
No.
And if there's any sphericity, it's within the lensing system of what you're looking at these objects through, not necessarily your telescope.
Wrong!
They use sextants for navigation, right?
Again, I'm moving on. Why?
Well, no, I want to finish this. I absolutely want to finish this. Because this is the crux. This is the crux of the heliocentric model. This is the crux of it. That we are rotating around some ball of fucking gas burning or fusion hydrogen, whatever the fuck, that's some magnificent, almost 1 million miles in fucking diameter.
Cool.
Now, this is the claim.
Cool.
And you have to go, all right, wait a second. How do you know these values? It's a legitimate question.
Yeah, but if you don't understand the answer, what good is it?
Well, I'm trying to understand the answer. And the answer you gave me, hold on, the answer you gave me, the answer you gave me was that by finding...
When distance is not a factor. You're bringing up angular size of stars when angular size of stars is not a factor.
Well, then why are we using stars at all then?
Planetarians are not a factor.
Red, why are we using stars at all then? We're trying to determine the distance and size of it.
Because astrometry works.
So somehow by calculating the position of lights in the sky, this is somehow going to tell me the distance and size of another object in the sky.
Yeah, because the position of the stars.
How? What known value does that give you?
Apparently you don't understand.
But wait a second. What known value does that give you?
That gives me the parallax angle, which is the point. Our goal during this trip.
We just already said. We already said that angle is not dependent on any distance.
Correct. So
all right. So then how could that possibly?
Exactly.
How could that possibly?
Exactly. I'm glad that we agree that the.
Well, then how could that possibly give you any information? How could that possibly give you any information?
I was starting to lose faith in you, but you figured it out in the end. I'm really proud of you.
So great. Then let's go with that. Let's go with that. Let's go with that, Red. How does that? If you don't know how far away those things are,
able to figuring out step one of this shit show, because we got about 12 more steps. Holy fuck, it's going to be a bumpy ride.
No, it's not going to be a bumpy ride at all. It's not going to be a bumpy ride at all. I'm on limited time as well.
Hard with it, it's going to be a very bumpy ride.
Okay, so
it'll be like driving down a dirt road in a Cadillac with broken suspension. It's going to be bumpy as fuck. So
okay, so can we get back on topic?
Get on with it.
Yes, get on with it.
Oh, believe me.
Okay, good. So this is what you explained to me, and tell me if I'm wrong. You told me that by marking and noting the positions of stars in the night sky,
astrometry. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Great. Yeah. You use the sextant to do these things too. There's been charts and all kinds of shit. Very predictable. Okay, great. So what is it about knowing that this star is here and that star is there, and they're so many degrees away from each other when I look at them from my position? How is that going to tell you anything that would be useful in the calculation of the distance or size of the sun?
Okay.
What information there by knowing that this star is here and this star is here? Oh, and here's another object that passes through here, another predictable object like Mars, and we predicted it went here. Okay, like that. Okay, great. That's cool. That's great. Another thing I still don't know the size or the distance of. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead, and I know where these things are at. I know how many angles are degrees there are between the two objects, and I saw this other object fly through here. Okay, really cool. Right. So now, What about that information is going to be useful in the calculation of the size or distance of the sun?
The same way that it was useful with my parallax measurement of the International Space Station.
Would it not mean this? Well, wait a second. You had known values there. Yeah. We don't have any known values. We don't have any known values. You knew the size of the space station. You knew the approximated altitude, everything, right?
No. Hang on. We did this completely independent of NASA.
Okay, all right.
We did this completely independent of any outside influence. My only point in bringing that up was to show that our answers converged on the same answer.
Great. Now explain to me how the positions
Hang on. We did our observation separately, as in Astronomer Live did his
Listen, I'm all happy about your space station thing, Red. I really am. I think your space station thing is great.
What we determined was that the actual process, the same exact process that we used for Mars, worked with the International Space Station.
What known value did you have, though? Hold on, wait a second. What known values did you use in your calculations? Did you go? Hold on a second. Did you give it any?
Went ahead and applied it.
Wait a second. Did you use known values?
Yeah, the position.
Okay, great. That's all I need. You use known values. Now, what known values are used when using parallax to determine the size and distance of the sun? What known values, other than the positions of other lights in the sky, those are going to tell you a size or a distance? You can compare them to that because of the minutes of angle that change. That's going to tell you size or distance. How? How in the fuck?
In one swoop. I'm going to try this in one swoop. So I'm going to make you this deal. I am going to explain it from start to finish. And what I would like for you to do is to just shut up and let me get through it.
All right. We're going to let you go. We're going to let you do it. You do it. You go for it.
If you are able to do that, we should be good to go.
I think it's time for you to put a squeeze on your chat box. What? This is what you're doing. This is what I want you to do. Any questions?
Did you just tell me to shut up?
Yes. You catch on straight away.
You go ahead. You spout it out.
Where's your camera, dude?
What's that?
Where's your camera, dude?
My camera, dude? My camera's right there. I'm getting ready to hit a bong.
You don't want to show a bong hit on camera? Okay, weird.
No, I don't want you to see it. No, I usually hit it on bong, but I was worried about you rebroadcasting. I was being courteous to you, but if you don't mind, I don't mind.
No, I really don't give a shit. Anyway,
all right, cool.
All right, cool. So what we're going to do is this process is by cool hard logic. We did that before. So I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead from the original point, which we already got our parallax measurement. Can you share my screens, please? I'm sharing it right now. Let me know when it's up.
Yes, it's up there.
Perfect. Okay. Now we went ahead and
we don't fuck around here, Red.
I'm happy to hear that. Moving on. So we did our observation during opposition. That's when the sun appears to be the largest in the sky. So basically the largest angular size. And as you know, the closer it is, the bigger it is, blah, blah. So we try to make it so that it was closest. It makes the observation easier. So if we know the distance to Mars, and we know,
wait.
Fuck's sake.
Knock, knock. Who's there? An interrupting cow. An interrupting cow. Moo!
Okay.
No, not for fuck's sake. If we know the distance, all right. Well, okay.
Already here.
I mean, you're already with assumptions. We know the distance to Mars.
Assumption. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. Yes, I tried. I fucking tried. My audience.
Wait a second. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Look, I'll even mute my fucking mic. But we said if we know the distance to Mars. How do we know that?
Because parallax works whether you like it or not. Obviously, you're not going to understand this shit, so I'm moving on. Why doesn't the sun change throughout the day?
It does.
It changes.
It changes throughout the season, even. I've seen it different. I've seen it appear drastically different sizes at different times of day, at different times of year, and none of it dependent on anything other than the way it's being viewed. That's all.
Do you have any evidence whatsoever to show the sun changing in angular size?
Yes, I've seen it. I've got a video. I'm in fact getting ready to get off of here, and it's because I've been on here for 2 hours now.
What is the video that you are referring to?
There's one with the fade out. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Yeah, it fades out, as in it wasn't using a solar filter?
Yeah, it was.
It was. Oh my God.
It was, and it did change. You see it get slightly smaller, and then it's no longer visible. And not because it went onto the horizon either. It was because it was too far away for the light to reach.
I'm going to make a bet here. I'm going to bet that whatever video that you are showing either does not have a solar filter or it wasn't zoomed in at all. I'm going to make that bet right now. Let's see.
As I've said, I've been on here 2 hours.
Hey guys, Rob Skiba here. So,
of course, Rob Skiba. I know exactly what video you're referring to.
Oh no, that was just something that came up on another list. I tapped my phone. I was in another search, and that came up. I like Rob Skiba.
Skiba's in your list. Oh dear God.
Yeah, you would say that because he's a threat to this fantasy that you all have of an Earth ball and flying through a fucking void and all that other shit.
I've challenged him to a debate multiple times, and that dude fucked off faster than the speed of sound. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I could imagine. You're very condescending. I would too, but I'm able to deal with people. I'm able to deal with people like that because you've still failed to explain how plotting the positions of lights in the sky is going to tell you the size and distance of any fucking thing.
No, you just fail to understand it. That's not my problem.
Won't. No, it's not about it. And yeah, you're right. I don't understand it. I will not stand under it.
Absolutely.
I will not stand under it. You know why? Because it doesn't make sense. It's black magic. It's mind wizardry. It's mind wizardry.
Listen up, kids. Everything they teach you in school is a lie. You want the truth? The world is controlled by shadowy elites and shape-shifting lizard people. Have you ever folded a $1 bill? Look, you can make it say boobs. What does it mean?
That's all it is.
Just intellectually incapable of understanding it.
Well, you can believe whatever you like. I don't care. In your opinion of it, your opinion is of no bearing to me. I don't care. You believe that you live on a ball that's magically, and that you can just explain it away by using the word gravity or parallax. Okay, I understand what parallax is. I could take two objects and put them very far away from each other at a very far distance, and I'll get the same fucking angle as I will two objects that are farther away at a closer distance. I will get the same fucking results. That's not going to tell me size or distance. I have to have a known goddamn value in order to calculate any of that shit. And you prefaced your entire thing with, if we know the size of Mars, well, there again, if a bullfrog had wings, if a bullfrog didn't have wings, it wouldn't bump its ass all the time when it jumped. Okay.
Angular size
of a point of light, angular size of a point of fucking light in the sky. You're shitting me. You're absolutely shitting me. You do not know the size or distance of Mars. Mars is a light in the sky. You don't know the size or distance of any of these objects based on anything other than an initial assumption. And that is my point. The second thing that you still have not been able to prove is that you cannot have, listen, we're right at basics. Fuck all the rest of it.
Yeah,
we're right at basics.
You know that Mars is not a point of light. Go ahead. Share
it isn't. How come I see a red? Hold on a second. How come when I look at it? Wait a second. Hey, when I see it in the sky, Red, when I see it in the sky, I see a red star. That's how I'm drawn to it. That's how I know which one it is. I see a red star in the night sky, and I am able to know that is Mars. Absolutely, that is Mars.
That somebody said, yeah, the sun is somewhere up there in the sky. And I want to say, no, it's not. The sun is only in your eyeball.
We're waiting for you to show it, dude.
Show what? You can go out in the night sky and look at it. You can go out in the night sky and see it. Can you or can you not see? Can you or can you not see fucking Mars in the night sky with the naked eye?
Share the screen.
Can you or can you not see Mars in the night fucking sky with your naked eye?
And get your fucking answer. Share.
I'm asking you. It's a simple yes or no. It doesn't require the sharing of a screen. Can you or can you not?
You know, you've just been debunked. I told you.
No, I've not been debunked. You haven't even answered my question. I'll share your fucking screen as soon.
Share it right now. Fucking do it. I dare you. I double dog.
Okay, sure. What are you going to show me? A cartoon?
Does that look like
a cartoon? It is a fucking cartoon.
He took that observation directly, dumbass. So not
observation of what?
When you think you know perspective, you don't know.
Dude, that is a fucking cartoon. What is this white ring? What is this white ring around it? Is that 1% atmosphere that they fly a fucking helicopter in?
What did you expect? Welcome, Sonny. Make yourself at home. Marry my daughter. You've got to remember that these are just simple farmers. These are people of the land. The common clay of the New West. You know. Morons.
He found that with this telescope. Oh, yeah.
Red.
Go ahead.
Red. No, I don't believe he did film that with his telescope. That looks like a computer-generated fucking bullshit to me because I've looked at Mars through a telescope. I've looked at Mars through a telescope, and it just looks like a red star.
He will make the observation in front of you, and then what will you say?
Red. Can you or can you not see Mars in the night sky with the naked eye?
Yeah, and with the telescope.
Okay. Don't go any further.
Nope.
So you can see it. Shush.
No.
You can see it. Why can you see it? Why can you see it? Why can you see
it? That I can see this thing and it's not a light in the sky, but there's actually surface features. And the fact that
hold on a second. When you look at Mars with the naked eye, how are you able to distinguish that that's Mars? What is it?
I can look at it through a telescope. And
I'm not talking about a telescope. I can see it with my naked eye. Just a second. Let's get beyond this. Hold on a second.
Fuck your world up. That's why you don't want to measure the
No, it's not. You're going on beyond. We'll go with a telescope here in just a fucking minute.
Actual observations. Thank
just
you,
a moment.
Captain Obvious.
Hold on.
Anything else you would like to enlighten us with?
Yes, I would if you'd shut your goddamn pie hole long enough for me to finish.
Oh, I'm going to keep you on for 3 hours, bro. Let's see how long I can keep you wound up.
It's not going to be much longer, I can tell you that. But I can tell you this.
How long I got. I'm going to bet 3 hours. So I got 50 minutes on the clock. Let's do this shit. Given the
you don't know. Wait a second. No, you don't know the distance between those stars. You only know the angle between them. From your perspective, that's the only thing you know.
The angle between the stars. Congratulations. What? We only want the angle between the stars. We don't
need so we can agree that two little lights close up and far apart will yield the same angular distance as they would if they were large objects very, very far away, right?
The word you're looking for is separation, not distance.
Yeah.
Not talking about distances.
Okay. Well, that's important, don't you think? Because if that distance... You see, because
distance to stars is irrelevant. Every time you bring up distances, you're bringing up a straw man.
Well, wait a second. No, I'm not, because that angle between them, what difference does it make what angle there is between them then? What would that have to do with anything? I mean, if I could measure that same angle, for instance, I'm going to bring the planetarium in. Okay.
Should I bring up my
and the thing is with it, I'm getting ready. We got like 10 minutes is what we got left here.
10 minutes.
Because I have things that I need to do. So if I'm in the planetarium and I measure the angular difference between two stars inside the planetarium and then go outside and I find the same distance or the same angle between those same two stars outside, I got that same distance. I got that same angular, right? I got that same angle. It has to represent an accurate representation of the stars. So it's the same inside the planetarium as it is outside the planetarium. And in one case, it's only 14 feet above me. And in the other case, it's way, way high above me. So how do I know that the stars I'm seeing, how close to me they actually are? So that angle between them, if that angle between them is used to measure a distance,
the distance,
right? Because that's the only, other than knowing the angle, the only useful thing there would be a distance.
We're not making the measurement in a planetarium, first of all. And the second of all, we are.
Did you miss the point? Did you miss the point that the results would be the same fucking results?
No, they
would be the same results inside the planetarium as they would be outside under the real stars. Yes, they would.
No, they fucking wouldn't be. By you
then
saying
it's not an accurate representation of the sky, is it?
By you
is
saying
is it an accurate representation of the sky?
It's
just scaled down. It's scaled down, right? It's a scaled down
representation of parallax, dude.
It's a scaled down version of what we see outside, isn't it?
It's scaled down to the point where you're being completely irrelevant with the actual distances that we're talking about when it comes to Mars.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Because let's hold on a second. Hold on. Let's look at it. Let's look at it again. Let's say we've got star A. We're inside the planetarium.
Boys and girls, soon you'll be witnessing the wonders of the universe. But first I want to show you how the planetarium works.
As if we care. Hey, who are you?
Little Missy here runs the big projector for us.
I love my work. Well, dude, you're only as old as us. Shouldn't you be in school? I love my work.
Come on, let's get into the planetarium, shall we?
And we had a star here and a star here within the planetarium. And let's say someone's head was to eclipse a certain star within the planetarium. I would be able to measure using an actual piece of
equipment. Yeah, because you know the known value of the head
between one star in that planetarium and another star within that planetarium. If I got that and I'm able to use that as my standard of measurement when observing angles, and I was able to observe that head for two different spots on the fucking floor, I would be able to get a parallax measurement.
Well, wait a second. You have a known. You have a known fucking value. You have a known value. You know the size of the guy. And wait a second. No, you know the size of the guy's head and how far away he was when he went by.
I don't need to know the size of the guy's head. I only need to know his position.
What? Everybody's head is different? No.
I don't.
The size of the. There's your known value. There's your known value.
Every time you bring up size, you bring up a straw man. Every single time.
No, I'm not bringing up a straw man. That has everything to do with perspective.
Jesus fucking Christ. It's like if I try to explain that
it has everything to do with perspective, Red.
Your position in the sky, but you can't even understand that.
Wait a second. Yeah, what you're not getting is this. Hold on. Is a planetarium a pretty accurate representation of the night sky? Yes or no?
Not in terms of doing observations.
Wait a second. It isn't.
No.
Really?
Correct.
So you're telling me that the angle that they use in scale of different objects in the sky are not the same as what we see outside?
No. You want to know why?
Really? Why?
Why? Because the planetarium is simulating the sky from a single observer.
Okay. Well, no, not really. Because if you're sitting, because you're getting a different perspective regardless of where, depending on where you are in the planetarium.
Parallax. We had two different observers spaced apart by thousands of miles, dude.
Okay. So what?
Simulated within a planetarium. You dumbass.
Well, wait. Okay. Red, you have used your last ad hominem. Goodbye. Because as I tried to point out with the planetarium analogy, was that scaled down representation of what we see in the night sky, those stars are still the same angle away from each other in that planetarium as they appear in the night sky. This is why it's a simulation, because it's scaled down. Now, has the distance between those 2 points of light different? Yes, absolutely. But the angle is still the same. Without a known size, without a known distance, or something to compare it to, you can say parallax all the fuck you want to. I understand what parallax is. It's still not going to tell you the size and distance of an object without something with a frame of reference. You have to have a known value. And as you see in his example, when he said, if we know the size of Mars, and that was my, okay, how do you know the size of Mars? I say Mars is the size of a fucking Volkswagen. Prove me wrong. You don't have any frame of reference to go by. It's a point of light you see in the sky. Yes, you can look at it with a telescope. It appears to be round. Do you see what he showed? No, none of you ever see that. You see a red fucking ball, a red circle is basically that you assume is a ball because they told you it was a ball. But none of that tells you how far away or how big it is. You'd have to know how big it is in order to calculate how far away it is. You'd have to know how far away it is in order to calculate how big it is. Or you would have to have the known values of some other object. And what other object would there be that you have known values of? You don't have anything. The calculation of the distance of the sun initially was based on his thing that he said parallax. And they said, well, we watched Venus go by the sun and we watched it from two different locations. And, you know, we determined this because after all, since Venus is about the same size as Earth, and it's like, stop. How do you know Venus is the same size as Earth? You don't. That's assumed. So any calculation you make that derives itself from any assumed value is an assumption. And you have to think how far off some of these calculations could be when, for instance, they want to calculate in the speed of light, which is not a constant. This is an agreed upon number based on different readings from different people. They got together, and I think it was Bern, Switzerland, at a physics convention, and they agreed upon a speed of light based on an average. But these formulas rely on using it as a constant when it's not shown as a constant. So my biggest contention is the fact that there's so much assumption used, treated as fact. They use this idea of parallax, and the other magic word is gravity. Gravity is the other magic fucking word.
Gravity!
I really wish he hadn't gone to the ad hominem. These people do seem to get very upset very easily, and they end up, when you ask pertinent questions and pin them in a corner, oh, you just don't understand. So they make assumptions, and the entire thing is based off of those assumptions. And then the biggest go-to, if they can, gravity. Well, what is gravity? Well, it's a force. Well, it doesn't appear to be a force because hot air rises and butterflies float along. And if it was a force, it'd be slamming everything to the fucking ground, right? We're supposed to be holding everything against the spin and flying through space and everything. That's a hell of a fucking force. Holds all this water while we're spinning, but I can take a straw with the weak lungs and drink it through a straw. That makes absolutely zero sense. So what they want to do is they conflate an effect and want to claim that the effect is the cause. Well, the effect is not the cause. The effect cannot be the cause. Yes, I agree. Things drop to the floor. There is a downward vector. I agree. Okay? That's absolute. What causes it? Personally, I think it's an electrostatic function based on things that I've looked at. The rest of it is what? Because of fucking jawbreaker Earth that has a molten nickel iron core with magnets and really? That just makes everything stick? Why would the reality is nothing needs to stick because nothing's fucking moving, man. We're stationary. There's no need to be stuck. There's just a downward attraction. The rest of it's all density and buoyancy. Now, as far as gravity, then they want to ascribe an effect to other objects. How? By making up this bullshit about mass attracting mass, but there's no evidence of that.
First, we weigh a small lead pyramid to measure the force of attraction between it and the Earth. Its weight is 152.166 grams. Now we move the heavy lead ball under the scale, adding its mass to the mass of the Earth. The weight has increased by 1/1000th of a gram, which represents the attraction between the pyramid and the ball. When the mass under the pyramid got bigger, the force of attraction did too.
The only thing they point to as evidence is some kind of cockamamie fucking experiments that this guy Cavendish did, where he hung some cannonballs in his fucking shed and watched them with a telescope or some dumb shit like that. And it's like, get the fuck out of here with that. Mass attracts mass. There's no proof of that dumb shit at all, but they have to claim it in order for their gravity thing, for them to be able to place this on other celestial objects that they don't know what they fucking are either.
Let's leave Sovereign Soul Unchained Mind to his not understanding and his assumptions, shall we? What amazes me is that this debate was around 3 years ago, as Rob Skiba died almost 2 years ago. And after 8 years of Flat Earth on YouTube, the personal incredulity is still as strong as ever with Flat Earthers. I know this was a long one, and I appreciate all those who watched. If you made it to the end, type cookie in the comments. Please remember to do all the YouTube stuff with this video. You know the drill. You've got it. You guys are awesome. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.